Hello, Illumineers. Welcome back to this episode of the ITL Intro to Lorcana series. We are here with Bruce and Korey today to talk about Sapphire. Literally Bruce's favorite color in the entire world.
And
Um,
currently the best color.
and currently, yes, like currently the best color.
Valid.
Wish it was Sapphire Steel, but I digress. Um, So we are going to go over a few deck lists. I think you guys have seen this first one a little bit, but we're going to go over it again because we love talking about Lucas and his success at CCS. So here we go. All right. So this is Lucas's. This was his actual CCS 13K
Third
deck
place.
list. Yeah, third
Third
place deck
place.
list, which was funnily enough three cards or four cards off of Korey's deck list and
Yeah.
Alaric's deck list from that same weekend, and they both ended up 42nd and 43rd. So those like four cards made a huge difference, apparently. Um, so starting off, I think that Tipo is just kind of what like I don't know. I don't think he's mandatory in like every Sapphire list, but he's like a really good like just easy ramp
It,
and body.
it depends on the game plan of the list.
Hmm
And in this list, I feel like Tipo's pretty mandatory because you have to spend so much time ramping to get into the bigger bodies. Like this is
hmm
red blue or ruby sapphire's traditionally top heavy deck, so you have to like games where you don't Tipo or sail the Azurite Sea on two are your hardest games. Um,
hmm
it's a little bit different now because with this new set, we got the addition of Sapphire Coil, which Sapphire Coil on two is also a fairly strong play if you have like a Sisu or a Brawl to follow it up the next turn. Um, but if you don't, then you're kind of
Feels
dirtling that
bad.
next turn.
Yeah.
While it's lowering your opponent's ceiling, it's doing nothing to progress your game state or raise your own. Whereas
hmm
the typical Tipo on two or Sail on two into Tala or Hiram on three is like
hmm
definitely progressing your game state, getting you cards, developing a board. Um, Tala is a standout that I really like in this deck that we don't see in all Sapphire decks. Because now more than ever, her being a 3/3 is super relevant. And then obviously her ability to sing cards, which aren't present in this list, but I'm pretty sure that Lucas has added it back since then. But
He
being
has.
able to sing How Far I'll Go is,
Yeah.
incredible.
Absolutely. Hiram is Hiram's arguably the most broken blue card, sapphire card we have. Uh, just because drawing two is a really powerful effect. It's intentionally statted out of Zeus range. Um, if you're into Amber still or a Sapphire still, and they're on Zeus in their list, they still have to burn two resources typically to out a single Hiram. So in most of your still matchups, he's almost a guaranteed four card draw if you have the items in play. Uh, and that is super necessary when you're typically spending most of your turns putting your hand into your inkwell. Uh, I can understand the argument there, but I also think that if you get rid of Hiram, that the power level that we have Sapphire at right now, it goes back to being set one, set two blue power level where it's like, cool, I can ramp, but now I have no cards in my hand and nothing to do with all this ink. So uh, I can understand the argument. I think blue. I keep saying blue, but like Sapphire is like the. It's kind of not replaced Amethyst as like the best supporting color, but it definitely has made it like a level playing field.
hmm
Uh, prior to the last two sets, blue was like arguably considered the worst color in the game. So
It
it
really
was
was.
it's A lot of people are complaining about it being too powerful now, but I think it's just like the game going through a natural progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the early sets, Sapphire was just doing like nothing. Where like I remember like if we go like roll it all the way back to like set one, I remember like the very first deck I wanted to build was ironically, and I hated this deck. And I was like, oh, this is so sick. We get to ramp into our Aladdins. We get to ramp into our Be Prepareds. What can they do? Oh wait, purple gets to draw cards. That's sick. The only card in my deck that says draw card is Robin Hood conditionally. That sucks.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
you're just like top decking. So like finally, we like have a reliable draw engine, and then like one of the other best colors in the game, which happens to be the other half of this deck in Ruby, gets rid of it in no with no qualms. Brawl like it doesn't even need Sapphire Coil to have half of its kill spells get rid of it. Yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of Hiram. I'm not exactly sure what the answer is to the blue decks currently, but I agree that for the most part, the game has gone through these natural progressions of putting like decks up really high and then the other decks like catch up. That's just how like metas evolve. There's no way to like fully 100% like balance a card game that has variance in it. Like we're not playing chess.
Yeah.
Continuing on though, one of the newest additions of the set though, medium-sized crab, as some people are calling him. Big fan of Toa. He is extremely disgusting in this deck, especially because you just continue to pack that power punch of all your red removal spells. Whereas in the other versions we're going to talk about, he's very strong, but sometimes can fail to get the point across because he doesn't live to see the light of day. But yeah, what do you guys think about Tamatoa?
Uh, Tamato is insane. Uh, we've already up like you kind of said before. This list has already been updated. He's at 4 now. Uh, Mostly because even with Hiram being as good of a card as he is, uh, the deck still struggled for card value. Uh, so having a 6 drop that essentially can grab back double popsicle and then either play that popsicle that turn or uh, have 2 to play the next turn, it just gives you that extra draw ability that you're sorely missing when you don't see Hiram. Because a lot of the like mirror match and your aggro matchup comes, or not even I guess aggro as much, but your mirror matches and your more grindy games with like other control variant decks, you come down to do you have enough cards in hand to keep going,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
him like before like the best top deck in this list was Vision because you were able to find anything you wanted, and I think Crab competes 6 drop Crab competes with it just because if you have the popsicles engraved, you're drawing so many cards, and it's just able to facilitate your draw engine so nicely. Like in obviously we had a similar combo before with 8 drop Crab where like you're like, oh, pop my popsicle so I can play 8 drop Crab, grab the popsicle. And this just goes do that, but 2 turns earlier, and it's just so good. And then it
And the
quests and
value
plays an
of,
item for free.
yeah, like if it lasts that turn, like you get to play any item for free regardless of cost, and like that is just like it's like value on value, I think. I think something that I noticed a lot too, because I obviously Korey is playing the Ruby Sapphire list and I play the Sapphire Steel list, is that I think on multiple occasions I would get down to like 10 cards in my deck because like playing the toe, like grabbing back the draw cards, like getting them back out, and especially if you're like your Hiram survives or you're able to play multiple Hirams, like you're drawing like it feels like infinite drawing, and like that's something that I had to like get become very used to playing Sapphire Steel, was like because we didn't have that, like we were only able to get back one item at a time before with the big toas, and so like yeah, the medium toe is crazy. I love that card.
Yeah. Having this is like part of the effect's been like beaten into the ground, but the fact that that first part of its effect of grabbing back the two items is on play is like absolutely huge.
Mhm.
Coming from like the first several sets of this game, like very all the best cards, and there were few of them have like on play effects, such as we had Maleficent in set one, a card on play, and then in set two we got Rabbit, and that also draws a card on play. So the things that get you value off rip are really strong, and the fact that it can grab just anything back is insane. And you guys, the Ruby Sapphire players, have like half the amount of popsicles that a Steel Sapphire players have, and so
Yeah.
being able to grab them back like more consistently and make that draw engine more accessible for this deck is scary, because that's one of the few things that we did used to have over Ruby
Yeah.
Sapphire, was our capability of getting more cards with things like Wheel and you just having like that draw engine and the 8 popsicles in Fortisphere. We just like that was the only thing that we had above them, and maybe we could get you guys to pitter out. But now there's 8, 12 cards in your deck. I don't want you to draw on Hiram
Mhm.
Visions or Tamatoa to ever like get you back into the game on resources. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to out resource this decks like we used to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's even just invaluable too, because sometimes you're in like terrible situations where you're missing popsicles and you have to like play your coil to pop the coil with Hiram to draw some extra cards, and then being able to fetch any item back to your hand is really good. Or like comboing it with Vitalosphere if you're like in like a aggro matchup and you've like burned your Vitalosphere to like take out something with your Tipo, you could play the crab, get it back, play it, pop it, kill something with crab. So it's like it just also gives you a lot more play lines, and I think that's one of the big things with like I think Sapphire decks in general is I think the flexibility of the color, because you are able to ramp to such high increments of lore. Like it's definitely a skill expressive deck. So
Yeah.
Yep. It also can sing Pirate's Life, which is gross.
Disgusting.
6 costs
Absolutely.
is insane.
It's like,
Uh,
do I want to sing my pirate's life or do I want to play my dime for free? The options are endless.
we touched a little bit on Big Toa. He's been the baddie since set one. The one of the only forms of draw. Well, I guess he did. He didn't even draw before Popsicle came out. So until
Yeah.
we got that structure deck, yeah, he was only kind of mid. We might see him in like crazy like set one Maurice decks, but ever since Popsicle, he has
Maurice.
been a staple in Sapphire. Even
Mhm.
having all these decks like kind of committed to him, revolving around items. He's also the game closer. Unbeknownst to Chris, our teammate, he has more than one effect. He can grab an item back on play, and when he quests, he doesn't quest anymore based off the amount of items you have. So that's 3 very strong effects on a card that was printed very early in the game, and we're seeing the effects of just how powerful this card is in set one as they continue to print more powerful cards. Like this card became insane the moment Lucky Dime got printed.
Mhm. Absolutely.
yeah, I remember when Lucky Dime got printed, a lot of people were like, 7 cost uninkable. We're never playing that in a deck, and I was like, but Toa,
Yeah, but what
like
if he had
Yeah.
like a
Toa
couple
exists.
items out?
Yeah.
uh,
It's Value Town.
I think the only thing I'll say on Big Toa, because like it's a great card, is that I think a lot of lists are actually starting to find him unnecessary. Just because 6-drop Toa quest for 2, Sisu quest for 3. Uh, you don't have to have the items to get the extra additional lore value, so it's a little bit slower than I think the deck is currently willing to go.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely the burn version.
so I think let's see a lot of more lists coming off of Big Toa, just in playing into the slap four Sisu, 4 crab, just keep the big questers alive. And just because the Chernadog deck's real, there's always going to be other Ambro lists that are like aggro lists that are very real, and sometimes you just don't have the time to establish that crap. And then in the matchups that you can, it's very hard for them to remove it, so it's a little like, I guess, win more in that instance. But
Let's be honest. Tipo is gaining way more lore than Tamatoa half the time. Just turn the
only
kid
if you quest them.
sideways. Oh
Only
yeah,
if you quest them.
Chris. Only if you quest him.
The next card though is very important right now. I think Hideaway is an invaluable card in this current format. I think it's between that and the 6-drop Cusco, being able to take a resource away from your opponent's board, putting it into their inkwell, fetching it back off Shark if you need to, is also like a really good like power play, because sometimes the late game in the mirror, if they're on like the din list, they're like play double manner prep. Like you're just like, oh, Hideaway that's been in my hand since turn 2, finally get to do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And going to 2, so you have the availability to ink one early and still have one for the late game is essential now with the blue steel of Sapphire steel lists that are around, that are still on the item spam, taking out Maurice's workshops to slow down the resource gain, taking out Fishbone Quills to slow down the ink. I think those are all valid targets in the game right now.
The nuttiest thing about this is our only like other option, like outside of this color beforehand, was like Rise of the Titans, and it costs 3 ink and puts it in their discard, which is just gonna get grabbed back by like the Tamatoa cards. And being able to stick it in your inkwell is crazy. And the fact that it only costs 2, especially in Sapphire, means that it is an irrelevant amount of ink. Like sometimes you're trying to figure out what to do with that last like few ink, and you just get to like do this while continuing the game plan that you had prior. And so it's not like it's a big ordeal to like out your opponent's dime. It's like, oh, here's my 2 ink, let me continue pressing forward.
Yeah.
It also gives you like creative playlines too, like with coil. I've definitely hid away a popsicle to trigger my coil, so I could small sisu, a crab, a big crab. So like it gives you a lot of like playability. I think too, in terms of like getting where you need to get. The next card is just broken though. Sail. That's probably the behind visions. It's probably, the card's insane. So it should be on the that's the card people should be contesting to get banned. Drawing a card, getting anytime during your turn additional ink is so strong. Especially when you have like Maui Shark and you're just like sail into visions, and you're just like, all right, let me gain this lore and just keep drawing cards.
Yeah, this card won our Sail the Azurite Sea bracket. Like it cleared everything from the beginning, destroyed every card in its path, and there's a reason for it. Tipo essentially that like replaces you a card, but unfortunately it does have to be inkable. That's one of the few drawbacks. But the fact that you can ink at any point during your turn, like you pointed out, is one of the craziest aspects of it, because you can carry out your entire turn, filter through several cards, and eventually be like, okay, now I'm ready to ink this like extra card. Especially if you're trying to like see and dig for things that you don't necessarily, because you have cards in your hand you don't necessarily want to ink. Like having that option is crazy, because like when that first came out, I was like, oh, you're gonna play it, you're gonna ink a card, you're gonna draw a card, it's gonna replace itself. That's already crazy. And they're like, oh no, you do not have to do it immediately. And I was like, broken. Okay.
Yeah. It just enables, like, prior to the sale and depot coming out, your ramp was completely dependent on Fishbone Quill,
Yeah.
and and if you wanted to play like Mickey, But
Old
it's
school.
like I think the best thing about it too is it enables some of like the harder matchups for the deck. Like I think discard uh, strategies used to be pretty hard, but the fact that it replaces itself, unlike Tipo, it makes those matchups more accessible.
I also feel like old Ruby Sapphire was very uninkable, and like Tipo kind of like allowed you guys to be able to just like run that number of uninkable cards, which also I feel like facilitated a lot of bricking with the deck as well. But the Sail the Azure Sea requires it to be an inkable card, and you have to like show it to your opponent. So it like pushes. I feel like it pushed for the deck to be a little bit more inkable, and with the Maui Shark, I feel like just kind of touching on that as well, like that that card is inkable. It pulls back your items, so like you can pull back a Sail and
Pulls
just
back
ink it.
actions, yeah.
Yeah, it can pull back the Sail and just ink it for itself. Like if you played another one, like if you played it that turn, and like you know what I mean. So it's just like I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like the deck has definitely become more inkable than when I played it like two sets
yeah.
ago.
Which is kind of like it kind of had to, like
Yeah.
because like you just the deck was never gonna be like uber successful with the uninkable count being like 17, 19 because we're not. It's not Still Song. It doesn't have a wheel that like bails them out. It doesn't have like songs that draw like replace themselves.
Mhm.
So it's like it had even though it seems a little overpowered in comparison to other cards that we're getting, like it was kind of like necessary to balance it.
Yeah,
uh
for sure.
Visions is probably the best blue card in the game.
Scry 5 cards, don't reveal it to your opponent
Yeah,
and pull one
look,
out.
just
Insane.
digging
For
any.
one more than develop your brain. Only
Yeah,
one more.
Yeah.
one more ink than develop. You get to look 2.5 times deeper.
And it's
It's,
still an inkable card, and you don't
yeah,
have to reveal the card.
yeah,
Crazy.
it's so good because I can't tell you how many times like you're like in that late game grind. Your like resources are low because you like maybe weren't able to like keep your higher room on board, and you're just like top vision. Oh, vision find prep. Oh, we're suddenly back in here. We're gamers.
Mhm.
So I think it's like it facilitates so much with the deck, and just in terms of like I said, advancing like the skill ceiling for the deck is invaluable.
Yeah.
Popsicles a broken item, playing it, drawing a card,
Replaces
potentially
itself.
healing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
I will say one last touch on Vision is that Shark is already scary, right? Shark with the Visions in the discard makes me think 4 times harder
Mm-hmm.
because then I'm like, oh, they always have access to anything in their deck at all times if I ever turn
Mhm.
anything sideways.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
It's so scary. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, but we can move on to one of the most broken cards of the set. I don't think we need to say too much about Popsicle. It's what all the babies revolve around. Hiram needs it. Tamatoa needs it. It's the best single item in the game for sure. It draws a card, replaces itself, develops your board. It's a +1. Has a
Mhm.
great secondary effect in
Healing.
healing damage.
Yep.
Up to 2, optional, can be yours or your opponent's. Broken.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Heal, and it's up to, so you can choose 0.
yeah,
I can pop
0.
it on my opponent's card, say 0, grab it
Mm,
back with Toa. uh, but Coil, Coil's. I'm not even gonna lie. Coil is a very unfun card.
I
Yeah,
despise this card.
I hate
Uh,
it so much.
the fact that it is not once per turn, it doesn't or exert itself for the effect. Uh, Being able to have, if you ever establish like 2-3 coil in a game, like one ink clears a board. Like big C. That's why on in like my current variation of the list, I'm on 4 Sisu. Uh, I just think if I value the coil enough to sustain it, or if I establish a Great Stone Dragon to go alongside my coil, so I'm at least guaranteeing 2 triggers a turn. Like Sisu's answering everything. There's like the 6-drop Toa, as good as it is, triggering coil once, Sisu, trigger coil once, brawl. Like it answers like that in the blue still matchup so well. Being able to trigger coil on your Tamatoa, Medusa it, or your opponent's Tamatoa, big Toa, Medusa it, like double coil, little Sisu it. It like I had Great Stone Dragon against a Chernobog, double coil out. I shrank it 8. It dies to little Sisu now. I brawled it, but it would have died to a little Sisu. It lets the removal in this deck go even further without having to play the prep to in erasing your own board too. And I think that's why it's like it seems so unfair. It's because Sisu is a one-sided prep. So
It
being
definitely
able
should
to
have said
maintain
one per
my
card.
board, yeah,
It
being able to maintain your own board while wiping your opponents is just
Yeah.
like so
Very
impressive.
good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Touching on even the other removal cards here. Coil turns like one coil turns your little Sisu into brawl on a body. It turns your brawl into an inkable dragon's fire. Basically, it turns your Medusa into the card that we always thought it was. Dies to Medusa, gets like a whole new name with coil in
Yeah.
the deck. Like
Instead of 86% of the cards in the game, it's like 97.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. Like it's taking like with one ink, it's taking out Big Toa. Like
Mm.
Coil is absolutely oppressive and unfair. Let's move on to Dragons or Greatstone Dragon. Shout out Greatstone Dragon on Twitter.
Greatstone Dragon has been like one of my favorite cards since it came out. And I remember when this card first came out, everybody was like, that card's so bad. It comes in exerted and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm going to make it work. Kind of made it work. But I was very validated when Korey said, oh, this card's just so good in the mirror. It just puts you so far ahead. Because it does. It's crazy.
I think you only, and like, obviously, the addition of Sapphire Coil makes the additional secondary ink invaluable. But last set prior to Sapphire Coil existing, the red blue was Ruby Saph was still like one of the best decks, if not the best deck last set as well. And in the mirror match, which there was a lot of them, having Greatstone Dragon out early and getting to like 22 ink and your opponent's like at 14 even, it just feels like you're playing a different game. Like you're just sitting there with so many cards in your hand that you didn't have to ink, and like the world is yours. Like it just felt so good, not having to overcommit your hand to inking.
Yeah, because you're also just like capitalizing 90% of the time. You're capitalizing your ink off of your opponent using resources to get rid of your cards. So like you're gaining more than you're losing with the Greatstone Dragon, which makes it absolutely insane. Yeah, I've loved this card since it came out. It's definitely I would say it's no more than a 2 of in any deck, realistically. But like, yeah, I tried it at 4 and it was bad.
You know, they knew what they were doing with this card by making it like cost 3. Like it's
and it coming in exerted.
just outside of the and coming in exerted. Like it's just outside of the range of being like insane just to play and like not even a bother, but like still like nutty enough to like drop if you like have the ink left over or can play it with Tamatoa. Just finding the spot to like squeeze that Greatstone Dragon in there is insane. Like and it's one of those things that unless you like really go back and analyze your games, like you'll never know like just how crazy the Greatstone Dragon value was over the course of the game for you.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until we were at that like Redux Ursula set champ, and I played 2 mirrors in a row, and I'm sitting there in like game 2 of both of these mirrors, and I'm like, I have 21 ink. My opponent has 11. I have 13 cards in my hand. And my opponent has 2.
Absolute value. That's crazy.
And then like the next game, I'm like, okay, so my opponent put out Great Stone Dragon early, but I'm not gonna kill this high room because they're struggling.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm never giving him that extra ink. So it's like it again. I think the whole thing around Ruby Sapphire is it's a very skill expressive deck. So I think
I think any Sapphire deck is very skill expressive as well. Like, well, I don't know, mostly just like the Ruby Saph maybe and the Ruby or the Sapphire Steel. Like, I think both of those are very skill expressive decks.
We're gonna burn through the next few lists because all these cards are pretty much the same.
Yeah, we thought we were yapping just about Lucas's deck. I promise the next ones will be.
Yeah, so obviously this is Lucas's list. So the next list we have is actually Harlan's sweet list. It's set 7 Kiwi Birds. This I played against Ruby who played this list in set 6, and I just wanted to like cry. Like, I was like, I can't do anything. This Alice is so insane. Once you get her on the board, the 1/4 stat line, like 3/3, like we were all kind of like, okay, like it's annoying, it's an extra health, whatever. But like the 4 is just so frustrating sometimes because it takes like an extra turn to deal with it, and then it has wards, so you're having to throw something like an actual character into the card. So it's like,
Yeah, you have to sacrifice a ton of tempo to deal with Alice.
you do, yeah. And then giving another character ward plus an extra lore. Chef's
Yeah.
kiss.
It's one of the most disgusting keywords in the game. Being able to have it itself and then give it to something else. Like I think it was the set right before this that uninkable Sapphire Bell got revealed, and I was like, guys, this card is crazy. It gives something ward. That's broken. Ward is broken. And then the very next set, they give us a thing with ward that gives another thing ward and lore. And I was like, now we're cooking. Russ and I saw this card revealed, and we were like, we're about to make something gross and blue. Being able to just, like, she can, like, make games unwinnable for the opponent.
I watched you do that.
Yeah, like against Seal Song, I played Zach, and like near the end of the game, like I played, the 4-quester Gantu, and I was like, nice, none of your removal does anything to this pass. Go. He has ward now.
Had Alice on the board, next turn, plays Gantu, quest with Alice, gives Gantu a ward. It's prep or bust once you have an Alice on the field, like unless you have something to get rid of the Alice. Like it's so unbelievably frustrating. It's
we don't talk about
Cusco. It's like Cusco no touchy, like all over again.
I was gonna say my girl Sisu want to talk to Alice real quick. Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think ward is probably the most broken keyword in Lorcana. It forces decks to make super unoptimal plays to remove lore threats. I think I personally don't like Kiwi Bird. I've tried it several times, and every time I've tried it, I just run into Red Blue. And once they establish a Maui Shark and Pirate's Life, good game. There's like,
I'm not getting there.
It's very hard to come back unless you like open the curve. Like if you go turn 1 Bell, turn 2 Smee, turn 3 Alice into Pluto, and I don't have an established coil, a brawl Sisu at like any time prior to that, like you got it. You're good. You're good. But if you miss any of those items or any of those parts of that chain and your board's a little bit underdeveloped, like Shark is just a menace.
Yeah. Kind of bouncing off the Alice really quick. The Wendy Darling has also been like an insane card in like a lot of Sapphire aggro decks because she gives the ability. She has support as well as ward. So like you're not getting rid of her with a storm, a strength, or anything like that. And then on top of that, she can make your Calhoun a 6/2. like with
Mhm.
resist is nutty, like
Yeah.
absolutely nutty.
One Calhoun killing a Hiram is really good.
Yeah.
Unlike Alice, she like also hits back. So when you are making these like unoptimal plays, like you're potentially even trading your character. Like even though you're not swinging two characters into her, most likely you are probably trading your one character, which is like really strong. She quests for two. I have like seeing this card come back into the Kiwi deck. I think it's like very strong. Making characters having like big stats right now is like really important, and being able to deal with like locations, other huge characters. You're seeing like Hiram specifically, you're seeing like swing, like having to swing like maybe like two bells or something into just to get them off of it. Going back to Bell, because we didn't that wasn't even in the red blue list because it doesn't tend to play it.
It does not synchronize well.
This was a hot topic when it got revealed. It was like very similar to when Pete got revealed on the previous set. People are like, yo, they printed another, was it like a common, uncommon, like absolute insane heater of a card. And quite frankly, I've always been a Singer Cindy person because I hate that card with a passion. I think that it prevents you from playing the game from the very beginning of the game sometimes.
Yeah.
And
it makes Amber still going first for OP.
And this card is just that with like a slightly extra layer of requirement. So I guess that's where they like allow the boosted stats to come from. And you know what? You can have Cindy now. If you're gonna allow me to have this, you can have Cindy now.
Yeah. This is a two-card setup too. So
yeah, I mean, she obviously like can punch without having a song, but like, is it like even some of the versions of Blue Steel now are cutting Storm and only playing Strength, so they're like relying more and more on the fact that she's a 3/3 is like super relevant. So just having that versatility of being able to challenge and sing and come down on turn one. And sometimes, like, even normal summoning her as like a threat is even fine.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think we can kind of see it in this list here, but like having that like three power stat is like super important into the Ruby Sapphire matchup and other matchups, because most of your 1, 2, and 3 drop characters are gonna be X1, X2, X3 stat line. So forcing the trade into it is really good. It being able to sing, Still's best cards in the 3 cost removal songs, really good. It's just an impressive card. I think the only downside to it is that it requires like the 2-card combo to happen. So if you're going first and you bell, like you're already down to 4 cards in hand. So it has its drawbacks, I think, but I think that's intentional design in the development cycle.
Very brief touch on Hiram. It is slightly different in this deck because there have been like, and before this set, before Bell, there have been iterations that just did not play Popsicle, did not play Hiram of this Kiwi list because they were just trying to turn things sideways. I guess this is just to develop in the meta, and with the addition of Bell, some people are deciding again to play Hiram. I have seen, because of the conflict of Hiram Bell and the Popsicles, some people playing Doc over Hiram and then just like using the Popsicles as individual draw with Bell. But beyond that, it's interesting to see it in this deck when it hasn't always had been. And specifically this version of Blue Steel.
Yeah.
Now I get to talk about Tanya's favorite card, so you can take the lead.
Cogsworth! I love this card. Especially in my Sapphire Steel list that I was playing, that I did play for CCS actually. I specifically teched it in for the Amber Steel matchup. It's just so relevant so that like your Calhoun's not getting strength, your Smee's not taking the damage to make it a favorable trade. More so with the Ruby, what is it? Ruby Sapphire list with the Tipo because they always just wait until your Smeeze has 1 health left and then they just swing their Tipo in for maximum value from that. So Cogsworth is honestly has ward, shift 3, but like nobody's ever shifting it. We're just hard casting it, and then gives resist +1 to all of your other characters.
He also takes medium Toa out of Zeus range, which is huge.
Yeah, medium Toa is out of Zeus range. I don't think I ever like just had one Cogsworth on the field, like, which is just crazy to think about. Like I probably over prioritized it, but like when I play Cogsworth, if I have it in my hand, like he's like the last possible card I want to ink, especially depending on the matchup. But it's just a really good card. Thinking of it into like any steel matchup, for all of those removal spells.
Yeah, it changes the math on literally every single one of their cards.
Yep.
Storm only hits for 1 at that point. Strength needs an extra character for whatever thing you're trying to banish. Zeus only hits for 4, so it's a 4 cost, deal 4 damage card. Turns into a smash that's uninkable for 1 more.
It's also funny too when you have a Hiram out and like 2 Cogsworths and like your opponent had like Zeus or Strength in hand, and it's like, yeah, your Zeus Strength isn't doing anything against my 1/8 my 1/8 Hiram anymore. Yeah, no, it's honestly just crazy the impact that Cogsworth
and he
can
also
have on
just
the
has
board.
ward himself, which again is the most disgusting thing on the planet. One of the few cards that are just getting rid of it again are Sisu.
Yeah, literally got a big Sisu or bust there. So
the McDuck Manor. This card is only, in my opinion, the card's only really playable because of its 9 willpower.
Yeah.
If this was a 4-drop location that was 7 willpower, it's unplayable. It's just 9 is just so much to take care of. It, like, obviously, like, I'm sure people have had instances where they dealt with the Chernobog, and obviously the locations don't bite back like Chernobog, but it's a lot to deal with. And it's the primary reason why I think Red Blue's on Cusco and Hideaway. As much as I want to say it's the items, I think we've all, as Ruby Sapphire players, have been burned by McDuck Manor. So it's like, got to tuck it away. I'll give you that ink to not lose to a location. So
I'm not gonna lie, I low-key feel like McDuck Manor is subconsciously a big reason why a lot of us are also playing a 3/3 stat line. At least like the what is it? Strength. Because it's just, yeah, no. Having to swing 3 characters in or 2 characters in for Ruby Sapphire realistically, because like you have Maui, you have Shark. 90% of the time, like you're gonna have one of those out to deal with it. Not that you want to deal with it with those, but like almost any other deck is having to crash 3 different characters into this McDuck Manor, and it is demoralizing. Like not even Crab, Fox gets
you're winning the game off your opponent answering in 1 location, and you're fine with that.
But having to commit so much is such like a sacrifice or tempo. Seeing an aggro deck, like seeing you like start to get ahead on an aggro deck, and then the aggro deck turn their entire board sideways to take out your McDuck Manor is hilarious. You're like, oh, that's like 8 lore you've decided not to get because I would have won the game off of my big fat McDuck Manor.
Yeah, it's crazy. Alrighty, so that was Harlan Sweet's Kiwi Birds. Next we have Skylar.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get to testing with this deck this week. I'm actually like right after we finish this video, probably gonna try and play it on some webcam games. This is the list that topped CCS playing Chicha.
This wasn't CCS, was it? This was the WCC 5K.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, no, this topped the WCC 5K, the World's Class Cards or whatever it's called. Chicha is a new addition into the blue scale list. We have we've seen this card in Ruby Sapphire before. It was considered almost like a mirror breaker at one point. I had a CCS where my opponents had Cheeches and I didn't, and it felt awful. I'm excited to test this card again. The fact that I've played a few games with it over the last couple of days on the platform that shall not be named, but her giving support to something has come up so much. Like again, we've just talked about that strength being like relevant. Just boosting up something by 2 has been huge. I can't tell you how many times I've given it to Scrooge a ton. Making him a 6'4" has been huge.
Yep, one tap in a high room in the blue mirror. Super good.
That's really
Absolutely.
Then Scrooge is probably the newest next card. I don't care what anybody says. When you special summon it by exerting the items, it's so much value.
So much value.
Like a 4/4 for 4 that you can play for free is so good. And then
it's inkable.
It's inkable, and on play you get to dig 4 cards for another item. So your curve is like Hiram this on 5, you find a popsicle, you get to play it, and then the next turn you could like pop them, play the 6-drop Toa. Like you're so far ahead already at that point. It's pretty disgusting.
And
then
it takes out Daisy.
Yeah, no, that 4 line, as we're kind of talking about, that's the reason that the Jim Hawkins are kind of in here. Being able to hit number, like, in the past couple sets, 3 was the magic number. We're starting to transition into this world where 4 is the number that you need to hit with, like, the Scrooge McDucks, the Lawrences of the game. Like, Jim is in here for that. Daisy having 4 willpower is huge. Neverland having 4 willpower is huge. Like, we just need to meet this requirement of 4. With even like Goat, Fox, like there's so many cards that just Cobra, like I'm off the dome named like 10 here. Like 4 is like huge in the game right now. And like even doing the typical play line of a popsicle or a Fortisphere on 1 into the Sail the Azurite Sea on 2 into Scrooge on 3 is sometimes the right play over Hiram simply because he is a unit. Hiram's not taking anything out. Scrooge is probably trading with multiple lower cost cards before he's being taken out.
Yeah, I really like Scrooge for the stat line, digging for an item. If there was like more, if Ruby Saf had a Fortisphere that was like drawing another card, I feel like this would immediately
be a no-brainer.
Tala. It would just immediately replace Tala for the resource gain, and having the +1/1 stat line for the same cost. But we don't have the color, that other color combo doesn't have the Fortisphere to support like the play for it, in my opinion.
It also has the flexibility of any card as opposed to having to grab that item, which I think is huge for the Ruby Sapphire color in general.
Yeah, I agree. And then he just feeds the 6-drop Toa. So this is like, play Scrooge, find the dime, play the Toa next turn. That Toa survives. He's playing the dime for free. It's a really, really good combination. I think this list, because you're on the Chicha and you're on the gym, this list is also on the 4 Fishbone Quill, which is just to
versus arch nemesis since it came out.
Yeah, I hate having to rely on Quill, but playing this version, it just seems really good. So Quill keeps us in the Ruby matchup pretty strongly and gets us ahead, whereas Chicha's definitely for the Ruby matchup to keep us in the drawing competition. Making them use removal on that as opposed to something else is huge. Just to keep us from drawing cards. Jim Hawkins is more for the steel matchups where you like need that unit to kind of take care of Daisies, take care of like Lawrence's, meet that 4 cost requirement. It can even if you have a crazy turn, you can take out like a library. Because
That's
you got
insane.
like
Have you ever gotten the Jim Hawkins to like be an 8/4?
yeah, you just
So
you're
yeah,
able to you ink for a turn, ink with Quill, and then ink off a sail the Azurite Sea, and
yeah,
then he is
it's
massive.
crazy. Yeah,
So you get all those triggers off that. So you can make him take out Tamatoa if
yeah,
if it comes down to it. Um, yeah, so Fishbone Quill it just allows for a lot of the unfair things to happen. As soon as Fishbone Quill comes down, you are doubling your opponent's ink for the rest of the game if they're also not on a Sapphire game plan, which is insane. That gap, as we're seeing like other decks that are playing like all of the Tipo and Sail the Azurite ramp, that gap that Fishbone Quill provides has seemed to become like a little bit smaller as cards have gotten better. But like several sets ago, like being on that like double link and even playing your mediocre cards, but the fact that you got to play 2 mediocre cards to their 1 mediocre card was crazy.
yeah. I almost feel like this list should play like a 1 of Greatstone as well. Like I feel like, but I feel like that's like almost like a win more kind of mentality. I just love Greatstone. I feel like it's so good in like most blue decks,
Yeah, I think
Sapphire decks.
I think this list is like more exploitative of the 6-drop crab. So like because like you have the 4/4, you have the 4 pop.
4/4
So
and the shield.
yeah, yeah. Well, the shield's irrelevant to because I'm just thinking like in order to facilitate Fishbone Quill that heavily, like you have to have a very
Draw
strong draw
cards.
engine,
Yeah.
and it's not on wheel, so like you have to abuse the that 6-drop crab as often as possible,
Yeah.
which is very strong.
Yeah, the inclusion of the shield here, thing that we get to do in this list that the Ruby Sapphire version doesn't get to do is while shield does nothing to protect against coil, it takes your crab out of Zeus range just like Cogsworth, which is huge.
Okay. Is that it? Yeah, we've covered literally every other card. We weren't lying when we said we were gonna fly through the next couple.
Yeah, the blue is a very linear engine for most decks.
We got a couple off meta choices to talk about.
Now,
These have seen success at every level of the game. Maybe not specifically this set, but JDRR is one of the more consistent people in the community. He's always on top of Blurple as the deck's name, or Amethyst Sapphire as it is rightfully called. If you are not a part of the 20 Lore Pro Discord, this is a great resource for any type of deck list. A lot of communication, a lot of deck building here. It's a sick place to be. Very interesting thing that Blurple does here that the other Sapphire decks do not is I kind of talked about this when we did the Amethyst video, but there's very few blue cards in here. There are 3. There are the ramp cards that we need so we can play our genie or our rabbit on 3 and to get ahead of our opponent slightly. And then there's Hades because he can remove Tamatoa and Shark and things of that nature with the swiftness.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think this is like the prime example of what I said when we looked at Lucas's list, which is blue is quickly becoming the best support color for other cards to do their broken thing, and this is like super evident off of the fact that there's only 3 blue cards in here, and it's Tipo, Sail, which are both
Sapphire.
very good cards, and then Hades, which is just targeted removal to keep your little stuff alive. So, and I'm pretty sure we said in the Amethyst video, Amethyst is probably the best engine in the game for like a support, like sport wise. So being able to continuously draw cards, play things like the library for all your 1-drops when they get banished to draw you more cards, is just absurd, and then it helps you find the Hades removal.
being able to be the support color for the support color, so the support color can do its broken things, is kind of great.
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
almost surprised not
because
to see the Elsa in here too.
like Genie's really good, but what if we play Genie a turn earlier?
Mm-hmm. Genie on 3, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The only thing that's answering is like Brawl.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think this is like pretty self-explanatory. It's like the ramp just lets you play your cheap characters and abuse the bounce package faster. So
Yeah, all your good cards in this deck are like 4 cost or more, and we just want to get to those quicker.
yep.
Oh my gosh, I love this. It's a 4 of every single card. Those are my favorite decks.
Yeah,
Don't
those
That
look
judge me.
sweet.
I love
Mhm.
Diggy Hole so much.
the Ed special before the last LCCC match
Yeah.
where he was on like 7 or 8 1-ofs. That was crazy.
Alrighty.
I'll let you take
Then
the lead on this one.
uh I mean, it's basically a very similar setup to what we've seen. The only like new, like we have the ramp package, we have the Hiram into Popsicle to draw cards. The Tomato is there to facilitate getting the coil in the Popsicle bag if we have to pop the coil off the Hiram. Uh, to and then I'm very surprised that we're on as many coil as we're on without a single under the sea in the deck because I feel like with coil
The,
that's a very abusable card.
the coil
Uh,
just facilitates the muses, I think, more because this is
yeah,
playing like such a heavy like song. Because we see the how
yeah.
far I'll go for the extra ramp as well.
I was just saying I would see figure you'd see at least one, but yeah, getting the muses out, uh, playing coil, singing songs
A different
to
way to abuse coil.
yeah, he puts it
Yeah.
into your hand, and then you hard punish the hand gain by playing the bend. Um, no, I think it's super spicy
the
list.
the crazy thing about this deck specifically is because it's blue, because it's Sapphire, it falls to all the other things that the other Sapphire decks do for the most part. Like it has those same weaknesses, but it is very good against other Sapphire decks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Um,
bend
like being
hard punishes.
it
Mhm.
definitely being able to crack out or take their whole hand with bend to my will, bounce all their cards, put them into their hand, take all that, like everything in our Sapphire decks tend to be higher costed. So if we spend the majority of our turn playing things that are just going to get Sapphire coiled and then bounced by our muses and then eventually discarded by bend to my will, we're going to get very heavily punished for spending time playing big cards.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. Having and then obviously the chapter 1 legendary bells in there,
The
not
phase.
only for additional ramp, but to be that big dime target at the end of the game when you're trying to close it out. Uh, I think that's a good inclusion. Clarabelle with your welcome, obviously a strong combo to your welcome your opponent, sing your welcome with a card, put your opponent's card into their deck, fill up their hand, Clarabelle to draw cards equal, and then bend on the next turn to punish them for having 12 cards in hand that you gave them. Uh, it's pretty good. I think the how far I'll go, I think that's a card that we kind of touched on with with Sapphire Ruby. How we were including that card again in that list, just not only for the additional dig of going 2 cards deeper into your deck, but it also puts one of them into your inkwell conveniently, which allows you to trigger the coil an additional time. Uh, which
And the muses, right? So doesn't that put them both into the bag? So you get to
yep, you get to stack it how you
that's
want.
insane. You trigger them both on one card.
Yeah, and
Yep.
you can sing how far with the muses, so it's essentially free. uh, yeah,
Crazy,
so
yeah.
I think there's
Disgusting.
tons of potential with this.
Yeah. The coil, I think, just like opened up so much for this deck because before it was relying a lot on the ice block.
Hmm
And you can only ice block one time because it requires you to exert it. But Yeah, no, the coil just like opens this deck list of so more, and I think that so much more, and I think that that like is such a good like the how far I'll go with the muses and the coil is crazy.
It's so crazy how it went from 1-drop uninkable exerts to -1 to 2-drop inkable -2 does not exert multiple triggers for.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's insane. Alrighty. And
I think Ice
now
Block is what, like set 3 though, so it's like
Yeah, no, it
let's
wasn't
go,
even all.
puppies.
this one is
This is where we're gonna finish off. There's several new cards to talk about in this list. Ask me if
Bruce
I
is
know what any of them
unhappy.
do.
Bruce is unhappy about this list, but it's fun and it's exciting, and everybody talked about puppies when we started getting cards for this set. So
Yeah, I think
Best card in this deck, Sail the Azurite Sea.
undoubtedly the best card in this deck, Sail the Azurite Sea.
yes.
But I think this is just like something fun we threw in, just because it highlights a couple of the other abilities that you typically see with Sapphire. I think of the big one being Freckles. A lot of characters on play in Sapphire have the negative strength ability. So that's just something that we don't see typically in the Sapphire Stills, the Sapphire Rubies. We saw it a lot more in the minus Coil. We saw it more so in the Emerald Sapphire list. But there are a lot of characters in the Sapphire color house that do have that ability on play. Give something minus X willpower, X strength. Pepper is a very interesting card because it's also another mechanic we've commonly seen on Sapphire, where when something is banished, instead of putting it into your discard, it goes into your inkwell. There was a very good meme that went around with Pepper and the new Pongo, where the Pepper, when it's banished, it includes itself because it is a puppy. It goes into your inkwell, and then Pongo is able to play the Pepper for free the next turn out of your inkwell. So it's like, look, Daddy, I've become immortal. But this is just like a more of like a thematic deck that you can kind of just see the abilities that Sapphire typically has, with the Perdita giving all your puppies ward, Pongo with ink manipulation, Freckles with the minus strength, Pepper with the having an ability to put a card into your inkwell from the field of play when it's banished. There's just cards that we don't typically see highlighted that are a little bit more fun. Is this deck very good? No. Is this deck playable? Of course. Anything's playable if you want to have fun. I think spamming puppies out of your inkwell is pretty cool. Only thing I wish is that the higher cost cards were also classed as puppies, even though they're big dogs. All dogs are puppies until they're not anymore. And then Perdita, if Perdita could protect your Pongo and protect the 6-drop Perdita as well, it would just be a little bit better. But yeah, it was just for funsies.
Yeah.
So, what's the Twilight Bark? That's one of the coolest abilities. Pongo. Twilight
yeah.
Bark. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that card in
Mufasa.
I played it in Mufasa, yeah.
Because you knew you were hitting a character. Twilight Bark. Flip dragon off the top of your deck.
Alrighty, so that is it for the Sapphire. We went over quite a few deck lists that were very similar. I feel like that's just kind of like the theme of Sapphire right now, though, is very wardy.
They got a lot of good cards, and they want to play them.
Yeah.
You take all the best cards they give you and you put them in a deck together. It's crazy.
That's just kind of the nature of like support colors too, because people say like the same thing about purple too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it functions as an engine, and there are good cards out of that color that are in an engine. Like they just work together. They synergize well.
Mhm.
They make other colors do disgusting things.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they do. But alrighty. Well, thank you guys again for joining us today on our Intro to Lorcana Sapphire video. We have one video left, and it is Steel, one of my favorites. As always, we would like to say thank you to our. That's not even the good one. Oh, he's just showing cool cards. As always, we would like to say thank you to our sponsor, House of Cards in Winston-Salem. Check them out below for their TCG player. Also, we have our Metafy coaching page is up and live. We're posting articles regularly-ish. We're trying. Bruce and I are the writers of the group, so we're doing our best. But also, don't forget to check the links below because we also have a link to Gem Tech accessories for all of your TCG needs: book bags, deck boxes, card sleeves,
Yeah, stuff.
card stuff. But you get 10% off of your order, and we all swear by their book bags. I think most of us. We just got.
They've got a new fire bag coming out soon.
They do. It's an olive color. It's super cool.
And they have that thick crossbody.
And that carrier pouch.
Oh yeah. When Korey gets his crossbody in stock, I will post pictures and a review for him because I know a lot of people were like very curious about it and like also very skeptical. So I will do that for you guys. And you'll probably see that whenever we do get it in. But as always, thank you and join us in 2 weeks for our still video. Bye bye.